Remember when the kneel down was just a throwaway play to run out the clock? Not anymore. The act of kneeling has taken on a whole new meaning in the NFL. When Colin Kaepernick did it, the reaction was tense, fierce, polarizing. And then it hit closer to home when Brandon Marshall took a knee. Tend to react a bit differently when it's someone you know personally. So now what? What is the end game here? Like it or not, the kneel down has us talking. And we're talking about something far more complex than football. Welcome to Let's Talk Football. Pleased to be joined by Broncos linebacker Brandon Marshall. How many interview requests have you gotten this week?
Probably at least 100.
Yeah, it's been a little crazy, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's been crazy.
So let me ask you the fundamental question.
Right.
If you had to do it all over again, would you?
Absolutely. I would definitely do it. Despite the two endorsements I lost, despite all the scrutiny, I definitely would do it again. It really was just to bring awareness to the situation or to bring awareness to the issues. It's just a symbol. Just like the flag is a symbol, kneeling is just a symbol. And, I want to back up my kneeling with doing community work, and that's what I'm doing.
I get this a lot. Well, understand the message, understand what you're trying to get across, but could you have taken a different route to that message? Could instead of offending people who want to stand during the flag, is there something else you could have done?
Absolutely. There's plenty of different routes or avenues that you could have went, but I think if you wanted to make a big statement, I think this was the biggest thing that we could have done. As a pro athlete, I don't want to say it's a great idea. Cap had a good idea to get attention, to bring awareness to the situation. He sat and he kneeled, and it brought a huge conversation. So yes, could you have done other things? Absolutely. But was this the biggest thing? Was this the thing that would draw the most attention? Absolutely.
Let me ask you, do you do this if it's not Kaepernick, a former teammate?
I think so. It's tough because Cap is my line brother, my fraternity. I played with him for 3 years. But honestly, what really convicted me was when I watched his interview after the first time. It really drew a lot of attention. I watched his interview and it really touched me. Everything he was speaking on. I'm like, okay, this guy's right. And after that, that's when it hit home. It didn't hit home after I saw it. But after I saw the interview, that's when it hit home.
Well, it's become a trend because there are other players around the league doing the very same thing. Arian Foster, several members of the Miami Dolphins kneeled before and during the national anthem. Listen to what Arian Foster had to say after the game.
This is exactly what this country is about. You have people in other countries that if they speak out, they get beheaded. They get killed. They get tortured. That's not what this is about. If somebody disagrees with it, they can disagree with it.
Well, he talks about the freedoms of our country.
Yes.
And you express those freedoms how you want. But are you at all fearful that this action might cause more division?
I don't think so.
Because people are taking sides.
Yeah. I don't think it'll cause too much division. I think as long as we back it up with doing some community work, back it up with doing some leg work, then I think it shouldn't cause any division.
Tell us about your meeting with the Denver Police Chief, Robert White, and how you came about calling him, initiating this, and what you learned from it.
It was a good idea I had. I brought it to Patrick, Smythe, and he set it up. He got it together, and we had a good meeting. We talked about the different struggles that police officers or that are presented to police officers. He actually wanted me to do a simulation. I guess they have a simulation where you can go in and you actually hold something that's like a gun and you go through these different scenarios in the heat of the moment. And so we talked about different things and we talked and I told him about how some people feel, how some people of minority feel about how the police act or how they act towards us at least. And he gave me his spiel. So I think it was good, man. And I got more of an understanding what it's like to be a police officer. And I think he understands what it's like to be a civilian anyway, because he's been there before. But,
I'm glad you said that, because the knowledge and the understanding works both ways. Just like most of us, we don't know what it's like to be a pro football player.
Right.
Most of us don't know what it's like to be a police officer.
Absolutely.
And to be in that situation and how complex it is. And that's the kind of stuff that, you're right, until you meet and you understand, you'll never know.
Absolutely, man. And I think that's why it was a great meeting. It gave me more understanding, and I definitely enjoyed it.
Well, let's listen to what the police chief, Robert White, had to say about meeting Brandon Marshall.
There are a lot of people that will raise issues and be negative and be what my kids call just haters, no matter what you do, and let it go at that. He has issues and he has questions as it relates to what we're doing. He acknowledged that he has some of those challenges, and he wants to do something about it. And part of doing something about it is going to the source of where you think some of those issues are.
All right, so you are doing something about it, Brandon. You met with the police chief. You are now going to give back $300 per tackle. Going to what?
And I haven't picked the exact charities or programs yet.
Okay.
I wanted to get out there that I am doing something.
Okay.
But at the same time, I don't want to just give to any organization.
Mm-hmm.
I want to do me, Patrick, and some of my team. With my agency, we're doing some legwork to see what are the proper places to give back to. Because if you could just give your money anywhere, and it might not make a difference. It might not make a huge difference. So I think I want to get it out there today. Okay, I am doing this, but now we're going to see. The police. Actually, that was part of the meeting. They have programs that I could donate to. So I'm going to review some different things and see. Okay, what fits me best, and that's what I'll donate to.
All right, we're not done with this. I want to know what it's like in the locker room with your fellow teammates. We'll bring in a former teammate. Joel Dreesen up next. Also, Mama Marshall. Yeah. Barbara's here. We'll talk to Mama. And the Colts coming to town. Of course, we'll diagnose that ball game on Let's Talk Football. All right, welcome back to the show. Joel Dreesen, kind enough to join us for this segment, along with Brandon Marshall, of course. These guys are just amazed at this old-fashioned contraption, aren't you?
This is the first time I've actually seen a device like this. I had a special teams coach who used to reference these stiff
Electric
movements.
Football? Yeah. This is Madden before Madden.
Is it?
Yeah.
Let's find out.
All right, let's see. You just do this, and then you just watch it, and then you sit around, and then you pretend a guy scores, and it's all chaos in the middle of the field.
There's no magnets to determine who scores or
No.
or anything
This is
like
like a Bengals Bucks game essentially. I don't know how else to explain it. A lot of chaos, which is why I wanted to bring Joel in, because you guys share locker room, obviously, in the NFL, defense, offense. When you go through something that you've gone through here for the last week, what does it do to the locker room?
Everybody has been cool. Everybody has supported me. All my teammates, man, is the same. Nothing has changed at all. And, I didn't tell Kubiak before the first game because my sole mission was, okay, well, we have to beat the Panthers. Everybody needs to focus. So I wasn't going to go parade around the locker room like, hey, I'm about to do this. I'm about to do this. You should do it with me. No, I let everybody do what they want to do, and it's still the same.
Were you nervous at all? Was your heart racing? Because that was a big step.
Was
it a distraction at all either?
It was definitely, because the night before I'm trying to study, but I'm at the same time, I'm like, okay, I got to talk to the press.
Yeah.
What will I say? And I know that, okay, when I go on the field, I go say my prayer on the bench, and I get up. And I know they're about to say the national anthem. So I'm sitting there, I'm like, okay, am I going to do this or not?
That was a leap.
Yeah, am I going to do this?
So at what point did you settle down, like, all right, I did it, it's done, I'll deal with it after the game, now it's time to focus on beating the Panthers?
As soon as I got up, I was like, okay, it's time to move on. I got my helmet like I always do, and I made sure my communication system was good with Wade Phillips, and I was ready to go.
Joel, I know you may have your own beliefs. We all have our own beliefs and opinions. But if you disagree with a teammate, is it tough to let it go? Is it tough not to have that be a problem on game day?
No, and one thing that I've learned is we were part of a group of guys every season when you were on a team that you had teammates who would make choices and decisions and do things that you didn't always disagree with. But your job as a teammate is to be the best person possible to them, support them in any way possible, and really try to get the most out of them as people and as teammates. So it wouldn't have been an issue with me. Yeah. Obviously, when Kaepernick first did that, I responded very emotionally at first.
As did I.
Like
I
a lot
did
of
the
people.
same thing.
I cannot believe he just did that.
Yeah.
But the most important thing we can do as Americans is just take a deep breath, not judge, and just listen. Like, obviously, that's a form of protest that I would never do. but the anthem its meaning is subjective to the individual, and that's what makes this country great. For me, standing up during that 90 seconds, you not only honor our freedom and those who fought so hard for it, but you're also honoring those who in this country have already worked so hard and sacrificed so much to foster change in the areas we're discussing. Inequality, race, gender, whatever it be. So I feel like by standing during that 90 seconds, it's saying, hey, look, the history of our country is not perfect. And we're not going to be perfect moving forward, but at least we're all united in making it a better place.
How do you respond to that passion? He's pretty passionate
He's
about
passionate. And I appreciate the passion, the same passion he has for that, the same passion I have. And going back to what he said about there's a divided locker room, look, everybody is going to have their own beliefs. Everybody is not going to agree the same thing, but as long as someone doesn't go around parading their beliefs in other people's faces, I think that it shouldn't be an issue at all because we're all different at the end of the day. You know what I'm saying? And I think as long as we have respect for each other, then I think everything's good.
And even a couple years ago when Michael Sam was drafted by the St. Louis Rams, the questions arose. How are you guys going to respond to the first openly gay player in your locker room? It was like, look, I'm going to treat him just like all of my other teammates. I'm going to be kind to him. I'm going to be the best I can possibly be. And the same would go for choosing not to stand for the national anthem.
You know what's lost in this week? You got popped for a $24,000 fine, dude.
No.
I mean, you're going to appeal this, right?
That's after tax income, too.
Yeah, you're going to appeal.
Absolutely, I'm going to appeal it. It's going to be tough, but I'm going to try to get it reduced.
Did you know when you made the hit? Because at the time, you didn't even get flagged for it.
No, at the time, I didn't even know. I started reading some tweets in the midst of seeing all the tweets about me kneeling, about me, being a dirty player or launching that cam. That's when I started thinking. I kind of rewatched the film that night. I'm like, oh man, because I launched with my head.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I hope they don't find me. But my agent was like, look, they're most likely gonna find you.
But you play a game a certain way all your life, and you do it unknowingly.
Yeah.
That's why I think it's so hard to police the violence in football. It's always going to be there. We'll get into that with Peter Schaefer later. Indy coming to town. Andrew Luck, similar to Cam, not as big, but likes to get out of the pocket. Does this change, perhaps, the way you approach Andrew Luck because of these fines that came down?
No, you just got to change your, actually me and my coach talked about that today. It's change your target, your target zone. You got to change, what you're hitting with. When you're hitting a running back or receiver, I think everything's fair game. But when you're hitting a quarterback, you got to take your head out of it, hit with your shoulder and try to lower your target. Because that's a lot of money, It's not helping anybody. It's not helping the team because we get flagged. It's not helping me, as far as, money-wise. So.
Yeah, my thought process was always this. I didn't feel as though the fining system was fair, how they jumped right to the player. Because obviously player is doing what he's coached to do. Coaches are doing what the ownership suggests that they do. So I feel like maybe you should ask your coach to get out his checkbook and help you just a little bit.
That go gets a salary cap, man.
And at the same time, it's crazy because the league office fines you.
Yeah.
And then, the league office also handles the appeals. And to me,
can't win that
you can't
battle.
win.
No.
So it's like, why is there not a third party that handles the appeal process?
Well, please stick around, Brandon, because your mom's here, and we're going to talk to Mrs. Marshall coming up a little bit later. Joel, when we come back, Joel and I are going to discuss Trevor Siemian Week 2. Can he be as cool and calm as he was against the Panthers? Let's talk football. All right, we continue our conversation with Brandon Marshall. This time we're joined by Brandon's mother, Barbara Marshall, brought to you by Mike Shaw Subaru. First television appearance, right?
Yes.
Pretty excited about this?
I'm excited.
2 years
Nervous.
ago, he showed up on his first time. You remember that?
Yes.
2 years ago? You were, oh my God, it's my first time on TV. Now you're getting too much television time.
Yeah, a lot of
All right, so when he kneeled for the anthem during that game, did you know? And what
didn't.
came across your mind?
I didn't know, and when I finally noticed, it was like, wow, okay. I just kind of wasn't sure, at the moment. And then, after I thought about it, and I said, okay, I understand what he's doing,
You know what tests a guy's character is how he reacts to criticism. When you see stuff like this, roll this video. This was right outside Broncos headquarters the other day. A guy obviously upset and disenchanted. What happened? That's Brandon's shirt. So, Brandon, when you saw this, what'd you think?
I kind of laughed because I'm like, that's not even my shirt. I don't know what shirt that is. I'm like, that's a shirt he definitely drew on.
Number 54.
And the funny thing is, he said, right message, wrong platform. I mean, so at least he acknowledged it was the right message.
That's a good point.
Yeah, I didn't. didn't make me feel any type of way, honestly.
You at all concerned about how much heat your son's taking? It's never easy for a mother.
I am a little bit concerned, especially after seeing something like that. It disturbed me a little bit, just because, you never know what's in someone's mind. And I try to stay off of social media. Some of the tweets and, things on Instagram and Facebook have been a little unnerving, but,
Well, Barbara, one of the reasons I wanted to bring you on the show is because I don't think people understand this is nothing new for the family, conflict and adversity.
Right.
You grew up in Vegas, Brandon, and you were the victim of domestic violence.
Correct.
To the point where you had to live in a shelter? For how long?
26 days.
26. What do you remember from that?
Actually, I remember the whole thing. I remember everything. I remember the time that the abuse happened, to the time, actually, I'm sorry, before the abuse, to when we tried to flee a little bit, Then I remember the abuse and then the shelter. I remember everything.
How did you raise a kid with this kind of character enduring all of that?
We just had to keep going. And I talked to them. I didn't go into exactly what happened in the bathroom with their father. We never discussed that till they were adults. But I just tried to assure them that it was going to be okay. I had to keep going to work. They had to keep going to school. We were safe, and we still had our family support.
When did you know he had professional football as a goal in life? When did you know he had enough to do it?
When he was 5.
All mothers say that.
Right.
Why at 5?
Because, Brandon's always been athletic. I started him in soccer at 3.
Yeah.
And he just excelled in everything, that I put him in. But football, he just really worked extra hard, in that sport. And so when he was 8 and was able to play Pop Warner, it was over,
So now we know your association with the fight against domestic violence and the charitable contributions you make there. And I guess when you're facing your own adversities, that sort of pales in comparison to what your mom went through, right? You gain strength from that.
Absolutely, man. I definitely gained strength through my mother and a lot of, that she's been through and everything that she's fought, for me and my brother to obtain. And, she, was held down two jobs at a time and, made sure food was on the table, made sure our grades were good, and made sure we played sports. So it's commendable.
All right, so Brandon, we have about a minute left in the segment here. What's the end game? How long are you going to do this?
I don't have a timetable, but I will. I definitely will stand again. And when I do, I want to make a statement. When I do, and it's going to be a good gesture, a nice gesture. I don't want to, reveal everything, but I don't plan on standing kneeling the whole season. When I do stand, it's going to be nice.
And last thoughts from you. You told me, when it comes to that whole military thing, and this is not a knock against the military. You come from a military family.
Correct.
Like, who was in the military?
My father, he was a World War II veteran.
Yeah.
He was in the Navy. I have nephews, cousins, and we have police in our family.
Sure.
So, I knew it's just if everybody would just listen to the message, then they would understand, because that's his background, and he didn't mean any disrespect.
Yeah. Well, Barbara, I want to thank you. You too, Brandon, especially. The dialogue. We do learn a lot more than football on this show, so thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Coming up next, the business of the game with our local NFL agent. Oh, look at him, all dressed up, Peter Schaefer.